10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff.
One-third of us currently in the state of Alabama can attest to the fact that we have had all 4 seasons in the course of one 7-day week. But then, of course, the same one who is actually doing the talking right now has not had 7 coherent thoughts in the course of that 7-day week. Guess what? That's me. Welcome into the Shooters Gallery live on this Thursday night, 22nd day of February. Damn, February is almost in the books. From the ever-evolving Studio One, Fast Eddie Layne on this side of the control panel, welcoming in tag team partner from the Peach State, Shane Noles.
I will echo your sentiment. We have seen Frankie Valli and the 4 seasons in the last 10 days.
I missed Frankie Valli. Damn, I would have bought tickets for that show, too. Welcoming in tag team partner, the president of wrestling, Phil Stamper.
You've been off just this week?
Oh, it's been worse. Let's go ahead and lead by saying thank you to everybody who's tuning into the Shooters Gallery this evening through all the conventional means and even some unconventional means. There's so many different ways. I'm not kidding. Go ahead.
The tinfoil hat's my favorite.
It's not tinfoil. It's aluminum. There's a difference between the two elements. And everybody keeps forgetting to put the little horns up on the side. They keep wanting to make it into a shipwreck hat. But now, short version of the story, I'm finally getting a chance to catch up on a little bit of rest from this past weekend. Look, I love life on the road. I got no issue with it whatsoever. But for those who know me, I stay in normally a hectic state because of everything that goes on between the day job, the radio station, Fridays at B-Dubs, or making the road trips over to Carrollton for PWA. Well, we stacked the deck a little bit more this time. Short itinerary. Going into Friday morning, I had 3 hours sleep. Got up, day job, Buffalo Wild Wings, Alabaster. Wrapped up there, got to house. Finished laundry, unloaded car. Finally crashed around 3 a.m. Back up, 8 o'clock a.m. If that. Finished laundry, loaded car. Went, picked up a friend of mine who was riding with me over to actually picked up rental car, then loaded car, then headed for PWA Carrollton. By the way, great show Saturday night. If you missed it, damn you, you missed it. From there, of course, we were all over the place. The Beyond Ringside Radio Network was well represented this weekend. Go from there. After PWA wraps up, I do believe we finally hit the road around 11:40 p.m. Getting up 85, and this is legit shoot. I get up 85 to mile marker 216 in a 5-lane road going left to right. Cop car, cop car, cop car, cop car, cop car, all blue lights, nobody's moving. Before I get tucked in behind everybody else, including the 18-wheeler in front of me, there's nothing in front. They have traffic stopped. So, lo and behold, it took 45 minutes to get to exit 211 off 85. And then right at exit 211 off Interstate 85, all 5 cop cars turned off the blue lights, all 5 cop cars single file order off the interstate. There was no reason for the stoppage of traffic. At least none that I could see. Well, we got up to the Buford exit, picked up third person. What's up, Elijah? I know you're listening tonight. I haven't mentioned the second name yet because I'm by the fourth wall. Or Curtin either. But we finally get up into North Carolina. 2.5 hours sleep before back up, and the promoter's dog. That dog was grumble, grumble, snort, snort. Would not let me sleep. Even with shutting the door, the dog found a way to get through a closed door. Just kidding, Brian. No, I'm not. Get up, grab breakfast, get to venue at 11:30. Call time 12. Everything goes off without a hitch on both events. PWA ran smooth as glass. PWX ran smooth as glass. And finally, after everything else, when the show concluded, finally got back on the road, cracked the state line at 12:47 a.m. Monday morning. Got driving partner, or actually riding partner. I drove the entire damn time. I'm stubborn like that. Got him to his place. Got into my place. Slept for a grand total of 3 hours to get up and go to day job Monday morning. And check in rental car. Oh, that's a different ball of crap all into itself. But that was my weekend. I know that tag team partner on my left was able to watch the majority of the Daytona 500. Right, Shane?
That is correct, Amundo.
Great ending to the race, huh?
Oh, tremendous. Final, as always, final 10 laps in the Great American Race. So many twists and turns. Those who tune in for the big one, which is a collection of cars getting in a wreck, you saw 3 of those Sunday. And an unbelievable finish with, old-time heritage, the numbers 3 and number 43 finishing 1 and 2 at Daytona. Pretty cool.
A thing of beauty all into itself. Seriously. Remember, pro wrestling is real, NASCAR is rigged. 17 years ago, Dale Earnhardt passed away. 20 years ago, Dale Earnhardt won the Daytona 500. And the number 3 car ends up back in in victory lane.
Okay, you bring that up.
Just
Conspiracy theorists have been heavy this week out of the woodwork. I mean, it is crazy. Dale Earnhardt won that race 20 years ago this past weekend. Austin Dillon, who has 1 career win, it's not like he's been a dominant force in NASCAR, wins this by leading the final lap. The last quarter of it was unheard of the entire day. And then you have all these stories coming mashing in. I mean, if it was scripted, you couldn't write a more beautiful script.
Well, let's put the world in proper perspective. A few years back, Dale Jr. brought back the Wrangler blue and yellow paint scheme for a nationwide race and just happened to win that day. Hadn't sniffed the finish line in a number of months, but won that day just because he had the blue and yellow Wrangler paint scheme, which he did tell everybody in the post-race interview that he took that out of his personal services contract, that Wrangler didn't pay a dime. Really now? Once again, pro wrestling's real, NASCAR's fixed. Speaking of fixed, not going to mention fixed in the least. I'm going to sit back and say I also know tag team partner on my right had a hectic Saturday in one of America's favorite addresses in Joppa, Maryland, right, Philip?
That's right. MCW came back featuring the 4 horsemen, Ric Flair, Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, Barry Windham, and J.J. Dillon, as well as Rosa Mendez and many, many others. It was a very great night. It was a long night, and it was just a lot of fun.
There's been chaos coming out of all fronts, but you know something? We're not even going to worry about the chaos because we've all dealt with our own chaos this week. Yeah.
I have to ask Phil one question.
Oh, no.
Because I'm always curious about this. Nothing bad. Could you tell there were some old NWA fans that may have had the original 4 Horsemen poster or T-shirts that were in attendance?
That's just it. There were so many old posters, toys, things that, I knew had some time to them. That was just really kind of cool to see.
Because that's what I love. Merchandising wasn't that big for the NWA back then, especially on the heels. But I can remember a T-shirt, I can remember a sweatshirt, and I can remember a poster. So that's cool to know that was out and about.
Yeah.
Going on.
And
go ahead.
I thought it was really cool that there was some older fans who were connecting with younger fans because they would meet them and be like, "Wait a minute, you have the same thing I do to get signed," and I just thought that was just in general really kind of cool.
Going off script, original layout question is going to be held up by one. Many fans and pundits have called the lineup of the Horsemen Rick, Arn, Tully, Barry, with JJ, the best lineup ever. excluding Luger and Ole. Give me the person you think should be included in the top tier Horseman Hall of Fame lineup. Go, Philip.
I mean, you have Flair. That's easy.
Well, no, I mean outside of that lineup, including, and I'll add Ole and Luger under that umbrella. What one person that was a Horseman would you include in a Hall of Fame-esque lineup?
Dean Malenko.
Shane?
Well, not Paul Roma.
Not Mongo McMichael.
Even though I was a fan of Roma's work, I really was. I felt people were hard on him. Much to, along with Philip in that same era, I would say, the name we're not supposed to speak of sometimes, but Chris Benoit, to me, as an enforcer, was the modern-day Arn Anderson for that group.
And even though it was all the work and even though it was short-lived, I would put Sting in that lineup as well.
Mm-hmm. Ole Anderson.
No, it's like I said, excluding Ole and Luger, because that was during that timeline. Of course, everybody always says the original is the best. B, Luger was riding that wave when the Horsemen were approaching the apex of their popularity, and then you add Barry, who took over after Lex, and just everything was once again rocket ride. But after the Barry run, they alternated back and forth. Ole came back in every once in a while too. But lo and behold, after the Wyndham part, you have some different faces and names that were a part of the organization or the faction. And that's where it's
a lot of people forget Sting was in there for 6 months.
Yeah, until they pulled the Dusty on him. I sat back and I was watching the Stone Cold podcast with Ric Flair earlier this evening before we went live. And, to hear Flair actually go candid in some of the things that he said, some things you just can't script, including divorce decrees. And God knows we try. But I have to ask the question, with the Hall of Fame, WWE Hall of Fame, that is, having to start going with a younger look, so to speak, with the exception of people who should have long since been in there, i.e. Ivan freaking Koloff.
I'm very okay with that.
No, Ivan Koloff's still not in there. He's a former WWF champion. Why is Ivan Koloff not in there?
I said I would be very okay with him being in there.
Yeah. I mean, I've had the honor of sitting down and interviewing Ivan 3 times in particular, once live and 2 on the phone. And it's just like, no. But by the same token, remembering the fact that this is something I'm going to lay out there. And for those who don't know, now you know. And for those who do know, you're going to go, no kidding. The industry that we call home base, known as professional wrestling, for many moons, had a rep as being one of the most cutthroat entities in business ever.
Had.
It still happens. It's the difference between night and day. It still happens. Who I don't know. But I'm not going to take that many cheap shots. I pay a full price for mine. But the question is that I'm going to pose to everybody. And folks, if you're listening at Beyond Ringside on Twitter, Facebook.com/Beyond Ringside Live. There is a chat room available that is flash-based over at BeyondRingside.com. Phil, are you on Facebook?
Yes, I am.
Facebook Live is...
excuse me. I am not on Facebook Live.
Oh, okay. But seriously, I would love to hear and read, so to speak, everybody's answers on this one. So please listen closely and think before you answer this question. are the days or is the era where we create or build legends in the world of pro wrestling done? Are those days finished? Because the reason why I ask, and gentlemen, be ready because I'm going to go to y'all in just a minute. Shane, you'll be up first. I watch the Stone Cold podcast. I watch the WWE Hall of Fame. I pay attention to all of the other organizations like Cauliflower Alley. God love them. Here in Alabama, we have some semblance of a Hall of Fame. Kinda, maybe, possibly. And other states do too. Companies have their Hall of Fame. And I look at the names that are currently being considered. Case in point, Jeff Jarrett, WWE Hall of Fame. I don't consider Jeff Jarrett a legend. I really don't. That's no disrespect to Mr. Jarrett. I just don't put him in that classification where the word legend applies. And I'm going to run the gauntlet real quick. You know, we talk about legendary promoters in the industry of pro wrestling. Going back in time, Sam Munchnick, Paul Bosch, Don Owen out of Pacific Northwest, Vern Gagne, AWA, Fritz Von Erich, or Jack Adkisson over in World Class Championship Wrestling. Paul Jones, Atlanta, Georgia. The Crockett's up in the Carolinas. Annie Gunkel in Georgia. The Fuller Golden Welch family down here in Alabama, the southeastern U.S. The Memphis Connection. The Grahams out of Florida. And it may be a generational thing on my part before I say anything else. It could conceivably be simply a generational thing on my part. In the world of women's wrestling, Leilani Kai, Moolah, May, and you can probably put Wendy in there, are classified as legends. I don't call Trish Stratus a legend. Lita would achieve that status before her, in my book. But coming back to the promoter thing, I would say Vince Sr., yes, legendary promoter, considering what he had to work in the Northeast. Yes, you have to say Vince McMahon would be classified as a legendary promoter. I can't say that about Eric Bischoff. I'm sorry. I'll stop there for a second because there's 6 different directions I want to go, so I'm going to turn it to my cohorts for a minute there. Shane Noles, your thoughts. Are those days done, and or why?
Well, you touched on something that I was going to bring up. It may be a generational thing. There was a meme I saw about 2 weeks ago that made so much sense. It shows a youngster in a wrestling mask, looking like a Sin Cara mask, with his John Cena wristbands on and his Daniel Bryan foam fingers. And it said, doesn't care who gets buried or who gets pushed, has way more fun than you. And I think about that. You know, we as children, Philip, how old are you? I'm just going to call you out on it. How old are you? Sir?
I'm not telling anybody.
Ballpark within 5 years.
Come on, Professor.
Oh, no, not at all. I don't tell anybody how old I am. Nobody in acting knows. Nobody in wrestling knows.
34.
I admire your Abdullah the Butcher commitment to kayfabe on your age.
Okay, then 33.
A little older than myself. But all of us as kids, I think, and if I'm wrong, correct me, I think we see people that we grew up with from our young years, teenage years, differently. Now, whether the business was better, but I'm talking about how they had a special place in our heart. Either they were the local heroes or the people we first saw on television, or for a later generation, the people who we played with, that was our character we chose in a wrestling video game, or we bought their action figures. We see them differently. And I look at it, just in this case in point, the Ultimate Warrior is a legend to me of my childhood. If the Ultimate Warrior came along today with my way jaded, overly cynical, and I'll just go ahead and say it, 39-year-old ass, Warrior probably wouldn't be getting a whole lot of props from me because I would look at work rate, promos, and think this guy's terrible. But from my childhood, he was involved in some of the most iconic moments ever as a legendary figure. So as far as the days of, I think for our generation, anyone over the age of 30, it's tough. We've seen so much. We've been exposed to so much. And I think a lot of the legends in wrestling have to do with what I may have touched on 2 or 3 weeks ago about actors and musicians. They were legendary larger than life because we didn't know their real names. We didn't know their inside business. They were mythical. They stood out. And now, again, with the internet, we know everybody's shoot name, what their mama and daddy called them the day they were born. We know, especially through WWE programming, way more revealing interviews, total divas, things of that nature. Guys are available at fan access, babyface or heel sells merchandise. So for our generation and older, I do think it's going to be tougher for someone to have that legendary clout, that stature. But now if I'm 13 years old and John Cena's had this 13-year run all my life, he's a legend to me. I'm just trying to take myself back in time. God, I wish I could. Some days I wish I couldn't. But to go back to that, I think for, I guess I'm not crapping on your question, Eddie, but I'm going to try to just spin one in here. If you were 15, 16 years old, if you were a high school sophomore, and you've been watching wrestling since you were the age of 5 years old,
Okay.
who would be 4 wrestlers, because we're going to be talking that time frame of 2003 to 2018, 15 years, if you were of that age, who would you look at as legends, especially as you got older and either entered the workforce or college or both and then got into your 30s? Who would have that in your heart?
Kurt Angle, Shawn Michaels, possibly John Cena would have the building blocks to be a legend. Now we're going straight ahead, but back, it's 2003 to what?
Till now, 2018.
Okay, I'll go ahead and keep Cena in that batch. Triple H. The evolution of the evolution of Triple H.
Give me one more if you could. Angle, Michaels, Cena, Triple H.
Undertaker.
This is all live, kids. Improv.
Undertaker.
So now Eddie, being in his over a century mark in age,
Half a
over that
century.
last 15 years, how many off that list is still a legend to you?
3.
I mean, I guess viewpoint perception may play into that.
Actually, 4 out of 5. I'll give 4 out of 5. I'll give 4 out of 5. I'll definitely. The only one that would actually have a chance of dropping would be Cena. And I think that is a generation. I think you're right. I think we're both right on it, the generational thing, because we see Cena in a totally different light. Where here's the thing, and I hate to cut you off, but I'm gonna throw this out there.
No worries.
HBK, Triple H, with the exception of DX, never wore their own shirts. Kurt Angle never wore his own shirts. Undertaker never wore his own shirts. I'm referring to merchandising, kids. John Cena, everything's about the merchandising. The hat, the t-shirt, the wristbands, the sweatbands, the bicep bands, the towel. To me, when you overly whore yourself out for merchandising, that cheapens the legacy that you leave in this industry because it's more about the material merch than it is the in-ring body of work. Now, you have to get past that sometimes, because in the last couple of years, John Cena's turned in memorable matches. Everybody from Jason Jordan to Kevin Owens to Sami Zayn to you name it. Everybody that AJ Styles, my God, Styles will go down in history as legendary. As a legend, I don't know. I'll shut up. Back to you.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. I think AJ Styles, for our generation, as well as kids, is going to be a legend. Even though he's new to the WWE scene, I think he's near and dear to all of our hearts who have ever worked with or saw him on an independent regional promotion, especially through the hardships in Ring of Honor and Impact TNA. I guess it is, because if I'm looking at through the prism of this, and Phil, I promise I'll give you time. I would say probably in 10 years, kids are going to look at Brock Lesnar, which I do think debatable on legend.
Very debatable.
You know, I mean, legendary presentation of his character.
That's Heyman.
But I would say, like, Cena, Reigns, Rey Mysterio. I'm just going, and I might be wrong. We need to bring a teenager on the show and talk about this. But
we do. We have Philip.
Some of these guys maybe. That's right. He is a whopping 19 years old.
There you go.
There you go.
The youngest president of professional wrestling, Jack Tunney, way older. But I guess to close on this, I guess for people our age or close to it, it's harder because we went through Memphis and AWA and WWF and WCW. So many territories and companies that don't exist anymore, legendary figures. That with maybe today's oversaturation, with today's less than stellar booking, that sometimes these guys don't come across legendary to us. But I wonder about the kids that are, I can't imagine being a kid, by the way, and getting to watch every single pay-per-view for $9.99 a month and having access to that. I mean, it was $39.99 or $29.99 in the early days on pay-per-view, and you had to hope that your local either mom and pop video retailer or your movie gallery Blockbuster somebody hadn't already rented out bleeps, bloopers, and body slams from Coliseum Home Video. That was it. So the exposure they have to the product is just ungodly. I mean, for a kid, man, you are living in the best time to be a wrestling fan before you have a chance to get jaded and cynical like me.
Video Express, you forgot them.
Well, movie update. Greed's Video, if I'm going to go off ledger here.
Yeah, I understand that concept. Yeah, I put it this way. The show I was PWX Sunday. Lo and behold, whereas we would have waited 4 or 5 weeks for a VHS to come out, I didn't even have to wait 5 days for it to be VOD through High Spots. That's where we are right now. Mm-hmm. Philip, it's all you.
Hey, the day after we had NATO Takes Dayton on Friday, it was on the High Spots Network.
Yep.
So, where do you want me to start? Do you want me to start with who I...
Pick a spot and run. That's what we do.
you said like 10,000 different things, and I don't know if there was a point to any of them.
Start with the question. Are the days gone by that we create legends in this industry?
Thank you. No, I don't. But I think when we define legend, it might mean something different. I think in 10 years, are we going to be celebrating AJ Styles and what he was able to do in a wrestling career? And if you look at what he did, he didn't necessarily have a quote-unquote WWE-style traditional upbringing. But then again, who does in the WWE right now?
Velveteen Dream?
I hate you so much.
Score.
A little of me just went crashing, like just.
I thought you were gonna vomit in your mouth.
That's because I have GERD.
Continue, please.
I'm just shaking. See, you just caused me to shake my head. I look at a guy like Sami Callihan and Jake and Dave Crist. I look at most of the roster of Impact, and they'll never be defined, in my opinion, as a legend. But I think they're going to have, pun intended, an impact on the scene of professional wrestling in different ways. But they'll never have that legendary status. But I think now it's quite often defined that legend means you must have made it to the WWE. Because I'll counterpose the question: if Ric Flair had never left WCW and to go to the WWE, would we be celebrating him as much as we do?
Yes.
And see, I agree with you. I honestly agree with you. But now, if there was something like that kind of loyalty, if Eli Drake never leaves Impact, or EC3. Well, no, I'm confused because didn't one of them actually get signed by the WWE? I'm confused because they're still on television.
EC3.
Oh, so EC3 actually got signed. So let's say Eli Drake continues to appear on Impact, and Impact's on for the next 20 years, and Eli Drake is the guy for the next 20 years in Impact Wrestling. Is he a legend?
Yes, because if you're able to stay with the company that long and you elevate the product, I will give you that one. But I'll also diffuse your earlier point. There is one person that is universally recognized by a great number of real wrestling fans, longtime wrestling fans, as a legend, and he never performed under the banner of the World Wrestling Federation or WWE. And I'm referring to WWE Hall of Famer Bullet Bob Armstrong.
Wasn't he a ref?
That's Scott.
I'm laughing. You should see my face.
Abdullah the Butcher?
Correct. Bruiser Brody.
Hall of Famer.
Now, Stan Hansen did up there, so I
Yeah.
see, even Windows agrees with me. Continue, Philip.
Let's see. Because now you have me thinking, like, okay, who in 20 years from current day wrestling would be a legend? The sad thing is, WWE will push Roman Reigns as a legend, and I just never.
I got one.
I want to pose that same question to Philip. If you're a 17-year-old high school senior, and the wrestling you've seen the last 15 years, who would be legends in your mind as a high school student? That's all you'd ever seen.
Chris Jericho.
Thank you. That's the one I was going to say.
There we go.
He's been able to go across lines than more than just being a wrestler. He's been on television, and when he comes in, he's showcased very highly on WWE television.
They even let his Alpha Club t-shirt shine through on WWE television.
There you go.
Stopping there, continuing.
I mean, one name I've noticed that you didn't name and Philip hasn't yet, Randy Orton.
Yeah. That's going to be a question mark for me, because over the last couple of years, Randy has gotten lost in the shuffle, other than RKO out of nowhere, which of course was funny as hell that a certain NBA college basketball team did that the other night. And I'm surprised Shane hadn't corrected me. Would you not?
Well, the reason I was going to say that is his career arc has been that 15-year period.
Yeah. See, here's the thing. I ought to create a show just called Here's the Thing, because for as many times as I say that, one of the 19 individualized phrases, there is a difference between someone having a legendary career and that person actually being a legend. It's kind of like a genuine Hall of Fame, or you can't say the Heisman Trophy, because there's been a ton of Heisman Trophy winners that have not amounted to a hill of hooey. Johnny Manziel.
Andre, where have you gone?
Just waiting on see about half-baked Mayfield. But, seriously, I mean, I look at the world through very open eyes, and the one thing that I see in particular is like Vince and the WWE in particular have almost made it a point where if you're not in that certain circle, you're not going to get the elongated push, long-form push, to where you can be mentioned in that. Because with Vince having gone through situations with Undertaker, most of which have been positive, Austin takes his ball and goes home, Rock goes to Hollywood. There are individuals, and this is a really tough comment to make because it's going to be misconstrued. There are individuals who grew to be stature-wise, reputationally, if I can use that as a loose term, as big as, if not bigger than, the company. Brock Lesnar, for everything that he has done in his current run, is not bigger than the business, nor is he bigger than the company. You have to be there to get that status. Austin was bigger than the company, borderline bigger than the business. Dwayne got to a point where he was bigger than the company, but not bigger, but almost as big as the business. And then you have people like The Undertaker, which that is, I can't say people like, you have The Undertaker. Someone who, and I'm still waiting on the argument to the other side, arguably one of the most respected people in any locker room. A person who did what was asked of him every night, who had a personality that transcended the industry. And so we bring up the factor of who can be called, who should be called what down the road, who could be called, who has the potential to be called. And there are people classified as legends who never transcended to that degree, and I'm okay with that. But there are people that haven't even sniffed the stratosphere of that description, who some individuals are using that L word for. And I really have to wonder, has the criteria, depending on how you want to pronounce it, of what we call a legend become so diluted? Now, once again, somebody 16 years of age is going to have a slightly different opinion than me. That's a generational thing. That's fine. We don't have to agree. It's like the hot button news topics this week. We don't have to agree. I'm right. That's all we need to agree on. But, Phil, you're about to say?
No, I wasn't. I really wasn't.
I asked the question last week, has the road to WrestleMania lost its luster? I got some good answers over the course of the last week, and a lot of people are of the same mindset. I got everything from, no, WrestleMania has kind of lost its luster because it's become more of a circus than it is what it was originally intended to be. It's become more circusy than a circus. The majority of people with whom I've spoken over the last week, and some of the comments I've read via email, DM, Facebook, blah, blah, have said that, and like I said, this is probably about 60 people that have given me this. It makes no sense anymore, because for a while it was boom, build. And now it's, well, boom, but. Then boom, but. If you see where I'm going. You can't, I mean, there's no cut and dried anymore, which I understand because of the way of the internet right now. And especially you've got these idiots who claim to be seers, sage, and soothsayers who know more about seers, sages, and soothsayers.
There you go.
Thank you. That just want to be the first to get their little opinion out there on their all of the above. It's like, hey, we go once a week. We take our time. We let everybody make idiots out of themselves, and we come back and say, no, this is what you should have said. And I'm inclined to agree. But I do stand by my comment that I do genuinely believe the road to WrestleMania, because of the indecisiveness of the front office and the fact that they will rewrite everything 33 times in 5 minutes, it's caused that to lose its luster. Will WrestleMania still be WrestleMania? Yes and no. But we've all had a week to think about it. Shane, got a follow-up to what you said last week?
Oh, I do, and this plays off this week's Raw. Anyone, and I think 3 of us right now, talking on this very program, would love to see more wrestling on Monday Night Raw. A 3-hour program should not have sometimes 3 or 4 matches. It was an hour and 58 minutes into the 3-hour telecast before the first match technically ended this past Monday. I don't know what you guys thought. I was just amazed. Commercial break after commercial break of wrestling. You know, I thought it was booked well, that Braun Strowman went over as the monster. I thought, and this is my point to what you were asking, Seth Rollins going over an hour and defeating Roman Reigns, and John Cena, clean, no run-ins, no gimmicks, no tricks, beat them both. I know a lot of people said, well, why didn't Rollins win at all? And I'm like, well, to me, you're missing the point. If he had won an hour and whatever 50 minutes, it's almost heelish at that point to have him go that long if guy after guy would be fresh. I mean, he had to go out at some point. I thought good job having Elias be the one to do it. Now, one thing about that, and this is off topic, but at the same time, to criticize, what the hell was the point of the match? Can the Elimination Chamber be anywhere as good as that almost 2-hour display this past Monday?
No.
I mean, and what was the point? We've seen people, you've got to go in first, and you get to come in last, and that was just, oh, crap, we've got 6 guys. We don't have a whole lot of other stuff built up sitting on the shelf. Let them go out there and work. And I'm like, there's no way Elimination Chamber can be as good as that. But to play off that, and I'm going to take a shot, and far be it from me, a little small-time jerk right here, but if Vince McMahon now was Vince McMahon anywhere from, I'd say, 85 through 2004, and he saw the way that he and his own company booked Seth Rollins this Monday, and the reception he got going over Reigns and Cena clean, he would be the winner of this Sunday's Elimination Chamber to face Brock Lesnar, because that match in my mind got him right back to that stratosphere as far as being a top guy. Not wearing silly flame pants at the Rumble, not being in a stupid tag team with Jason Jordan, the guy that can go and gave it his all this Monday. He would be the guy because the people are fired up about him. They saw through it. I mean, not saw through it. They saw what it meant. But, you know, here's where I'm going to sound like a cynical guy. They've done a great job. Royal Rumble with Shinsuke eliminating Reigns, to him losing to Miz on Raw 25, to him being the first guy out in the gauntlet. I mean, they've thrown up as many, you know, little obstacles and misdirection for him to probably still go over this Sunday, which is BS, to quote my good friend Eddie Layne. Because, again, I go back to that. If they truly looked at what Seth Rollins did this Monday and that reception from that crowd, and the boys, by the way, he would be the man to face Brock Lesnar. But that's probably not going to happen, even with the 33 rewrites. I mean, we know the direction. Sometimes that stinks, and I hope they surprise us. But again, going back, I loved wrestling on Raw. You know, lack of vignettes, lack of promos, just actual wrestling filling up the almost 3 hours. I can get on board with that. Sadly, it's probably not going to be, it's not going to be a regular occurrence. You can't run a gauntlet every week, but you could give them more wrestling and people reacting to that rather than a 20-minute promo segment to make sure the McMahon family or all others are incorporated. But I would really listen to that. I know what I would do. If Seth Rollins wasn't my guy and I saw that and heard that, that would be my rule.
See, I appreciate the fact that they had Miz out there for a while, let him go over Balor, and then turn around and have him do the honors for Strowman. Mm-hmm. If there is a genuine...
Like I said, I thought it was booked beautifully.
Yeah, it in my book it was. I actually had a chance to go back and watch it start to finish last night. It's like, no wonder I didn't get any sleep. But it's like, blink, crap, 2 hours later. But, Philip, go ahead, take it on.
So I came in literally as the match was ending with Seth Rollins. So I didn't realize at that point what had happened for the previous 2 hours. And this is where it gets interesting for me, because it's the power of persuasion. And what I mean by that is, when I first got online, when I got home that night and had just seen the end of this match, the comments were horrible. People hated what they were watching in the moment. And then all of it, like about 30 minutes later, I started to see that the comments were shifting. And it wasn't until 30 or 40 minutes later that I realized, oh, wait a minute, they're talking about the same thing. They're talking about that first match went 2 hours long. And that was sort of telling to me that it wasn't even so much. I mean, we always talk about, you know, Vince has said it isn't about what the crowd wants. It's about what I want. It's about what I want them to believe. Just like any other television show. Right. And in that moment, I realized, wait a minute, that isn't. They did it. They just did it in this weird way, because it took other people to start feeding in, well, wait a minute, it really wasn't that bad. Oh, wait a minute, it got us through a whole bunch of other crap that we would have seen. Oh, wait a minute. And people were actually starting to really look at the impact of it and what they had just seen. And then it seemed to have this interestingly positive spin that did not exist before.
You know, when you have a situation, and this is where you're making a reference to the fact that some people going, what the hell is this? Da, 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 and then all of a sudden it's like, wait, what the hell? What the hell is this? This is cool. And that's how quickly, it's kind of like that Rocky IV thing. Rocky comes out, everybody in the Soviet Union is booing his ass. As the fight goes on, people are like, this guy's not so bad. Hey, this guy's pretty good. Hey, all right, Rocco. We will watch Rocky triumph over the big guy. If he dies, he dies. Sorry. Some things in this world I should resist, but I don't. It's kind of like Zack Snyder being fired from Justice League. What?
Oh, because he allegedly slept with what, a 14-year-old kid? Just saying.
One of the reasons, other than the fact the movie was unwatchable, probably Zack Snyder. Well, it could be. Was it a 14-year-old boy or girl? I mean, if it was a boy, that's Kevin Spacey's territory, and he's going to be pissed.
Oh, I think that it was alleged that it was a boy, and that Zack Snyder allegedly. I want to make sure I'm using that word alleged.
Allegedly.
All right. That allegedly Zack Snyder came on to him and promising him a spot in the X-Men movie.
Say the word.
Allegedly.
Yeah. I was watching a YouTube video the other day, and I don't know if y'all follow the channel or not. It's Collider. They actually are pretty entertaining, and normally, they normally have great people on there for their roundtables. I'm not endorsing them in any capacity. I'm just saying this is one of the ones that I subscribe to, and I love the factor of they talked about everything but that. And this is the funny part about the whole scenario is one of the problems that, and I don't know who thought of the idea of running the gauntlet on Monday Night Raw, but I want to shake that person's hand. I don't care who it was. It almost sounds like an Adam Pearce thing. We're in the Go Home Raw. We got to show we got to show the world how tough these guys really are. Why not do a gauntlet match? Well, what are they going to gain out of it? Wrestling.
Right.
Give these guys time to actually work a match. Something that people are used to seeing on NXT as opposed to the main roster. I mean, normally, they have the split screen set up normally as an exclusive for SmackDown, to where when they go to break, you can still see the picture in a picture with the match in one corner and the television commercials. And it's like, I'm okay with that. I would love to see that more often in WWE programming. They have the technology. And it's not going to hurt the commercial buys. If anything, it'll help them. Because a lot of the time, unless you just desperately have to go to the bathroom or you ready for that 33rd bottle of water, there's that 33 again. I don't know where the hell that number came from. It's probably my lottery number this week. But if you've got the picture in a picture with the action in the top left corner or the bottom right corner, you're inclined to actually your TSL is going to improve because you're going to stay with the program longer.
Well, since net neutrality is in, you just have to pay more for it.
Oh, do not get me started on that whole net neutrality crap. The FCC should be disbanded for that bonehead move, okay? And let me guess.
Don't worry, it'll probably be back in 3 years.
2. I don't think it's going to take 2 years. I think we're going to have an antitrust situation pop up. But, yeah, this is... Captain Comover's got his work cut out for him because he let that go on his watch. I mean, look, we're going off into that territory, and Shane, I'm going to stall for a second to give you a chance to pull up a question so we can take it out of the first hour. But
I'm ready.
For me, it's very simple. I'm a capitalist. I'm an entrepreneur. And I believe that the challenge in corporate America on every scale on this era is to get people to buy in and believe. But with the internet the way it is, with the 24-hour news cycles, and they're all at fault, not just one of them, not just two of them, it's harder for people to buy in nowadays because everybody's so knee-jerk about stuff. And I genuinely believe that people should have been calling their representatives and fighting the disbanding of the Net Neutrality Act, because I think that it served a very viable purpose. And not just for individuals, but also for corporations. I think it kept a lot of things in check on the corporate side. So, yeah, you can call me what you want to. That's fine. I'm not a conservative. I'm not a liberal. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm me. If anything, I'm an anarchist. In this day and age, I am. Because I don't trust any of them. That's why I'm running for governor of the state of Alabama. And my platform is very simple. I'm not running on the Republican ticket. I'm not running on the Democratic ticket. I'm running on a parking ticket. I'm going to park my fat ass in that chair for 4 years and make PAC money. My name is Eddie Layne, and I approve this message.
Did you say crack money?
PAC PAC money.
Okay, thank you.
There was no distortion on that.
Well, you'd be a politician then.
There you go. That's a bunch of distortion. But let's go and do it. 5 minutes before the top of the hour. We got 5 minutes left in this first hour. Courtesy of Useless Trivia. The Trivia Master. Thank you, Windows. God help me. I hate that computer. But that's my Skype computer, so I got nothing to argue with it about. Let's try that again. Courtesy of Useless Trivia, the Trivia Master himself, Mr. Shane Noles.
Oh, good evening, everyone. Let's get questionable. So we're just doing one question before the break?
Depending on how long we go. We can go two possibly, but I want us to do our personal shameless plugs, not full form shameless plugs, but contact info before the top of the hour.
You got it. We'll start with a food question. Which sandwich uses a recipe similar to Sloppy Joe's that also includes sour cream and corn? It is best known for being the meal of choice of Sheriff Justice in the movie Smokey and the Bandit.
Philip, I'm going to give you one crack at it because I already know it.
Manwich?
Nope. Shall I?
Eddie Layne for the steal.
Hello, dear lady. Give me an El Diablo sandwich and a Dr. Pepper to go and make it quick. I'm in a hurry.
Diablo sandwich, correct.
Thank you.
I'll sneak in one on video games here.
Come on.
Since 1986, what video game series has centered on a family known as the Belmonts?
Philip?
What was the year?
1986.
The Belmonts. One Life to Live.
No, he said video games.
Oh, video games.
And no, that was not One Life to Live.
Castlevania.
Bill Stamper, correct.
Okay, tiebreaker, come on.
The Belmonts, a family of vampire hunters engaged in a multiple centuries war with Count Dracula.
Yep.
One more before we go to break. Same name. Two things that have the same name. Which brand of popcorn shares its name with the British word for BS or nonsense? Which brand of candied popcorn shares its name with the British word or term used to describe BS or nonsense?
Oh, I got it.
I really want to say Brock, but I'm not sure.
Phil?
Cracker Jacks.
Oh, incorrect.
Oh, actually, in the British terminology, Cracker Jack means excellent. And I never even slept with a British girl, although I did sleep with her sister. Oh God. I'm trying to think because I know the answer to this. I just can't. The words are stuck somewhere between synapses in the left side of my brain. So we both taken a crack at it, so to speak. Shane, fire away.
The brand of candy popcorn that shares its name with the British word for BS or nonsense is poppycock.
That's it.
And
Blast it. Tell you what, we're just before the top of the hour. We're going to put a wrap on hour number 1. But before we do, because we do have different things airing in different time slots, I want to go and throw this one out there, especially for everybody catching us, YouTube, Daily Motion, and some of the other platforms that we use that actually go only 1 hour. 5:30, Sundays, 6:30 Eastern, 5:30 Central. Beyond Ringside Live is back, corner to corner, back with us this Sunday as well. Sorry. Green Monster just got the best of me, and I'm not talking about baseball terms in Boston. Boston and New York can lose every game, and I promise I won't cry. I'm a National League guy. I'm sorry. Leave me alone. To a great degree.
I mean, so am I. I just laughed at that.
Thank you very much.
I'm laughing at you.
From that vantage point, if you missed this past Monday night and the Midnight Black Mass, there is going to be a change in the air with the mass, but they will be back on the 26th of February, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central, and of course to be determined back on the 28th, the last day of February at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central. At Beyond Ringside on Twitter, Facebook.com/Beyond Ringside Live. Going to go ahead and say, Shane Noles, shameless plugs.
Well, we'll delve more into it. Peach State Wrestling Alliance returns to the fairgrounds in Carrollton Saturday, March the 3rd. You can check out our Facebook page, PeachStateWrestlingAlliance.com as well, and on Instagram and Twitter at TheRealPWA. For myself, useless trivia. You just heard a sampling of questions from this week's games. You can check us out at Locomex. It's easy. The restaurant name never changes until to be determined. Locomex in Jacksonville, Alabama, 7 o'clock Central Time, Monday nights. Locomex in Jacksonville, Alabama. Same location, different time, 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 Eastern for Taco Tuesday. Been having some people come out and actually take advantage of that, of what I plugged here on the very program. If you're getting dollar beer and dollar tacos, who cares if you get a question right? It's going to be a good night. And then Wednesday is Locomex at 7 o'clock Central Time, 8 Eastern, over in Bowden, Georgia, not far from Carrollton. So if you're a wrestling fan, come by and say hi. If you hate me at Peach State, stay in the corner.
Phil Stamper, shameless plugs.
I will be back at MCW this Saturday. MCW, yes, that's right. We were just in action last week. We're in action again this coming Saturday at the Hollywood Volunteer Fire Department on 3 Notch Road in Hollywood, Maryland. Come down, check us out. We have WWE Hall of Famers Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Sonny, as well as former stars Adam Rose and Swoggle. As well as Ring of Honor Tag Team The Dogs, Rhett Titus and Will Ferrara, and so much more. Make sure you check it out this Saturday, mcwprowrestling.com in Hollywood, Maryland.
And your personal shameless plugs.
You can follow me on Instagram, Snapchat. I've just added a brand new social media. I have to cheat and pull up the name because it's so brand new. Vero, V-E-R-O. So Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, Vero, and I'm probably forgetting something at PS Phenom. That's PSPHENOM, and on Facebook at Deska Phil Stamper.
Cool. Tell you what, friends, hour 1 is in the books. Hour 2 is on the horizon, so I'm going to go ahead and sit back and say for everybody catching us all the way through, on the live side, hang with us. On the replay side, you never know, but definitely BeyondRingside.com, ProWrestlingRadio.net, and the Beyond Ringside Radio app for Amazon, Android, and BlackBerry. Hang with us. We'll be back in just a minute. This is the Shooters Gallery on the Beyond Ringside Radio Network and ProWrestlingRadio.net.